Welcome to this Monday, July 17th edition of Wasatch Weekends. I'm your host, Ben Roof. On today's show, Kimberly Perot is checking in with the PBS Short Film Festival, and Kim Smith is stopping by to give us some advice on facing change in our careers with her adventures in coaching. But first, a quick local announcement. A joint community meeting is being held this Wednesday at the Yarrow Doubletree from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and that is going to be about the Bonanza Park Small Area Plan and the 5-acre site feasibility study. It's a great opportunity to provide some community feedback and for those organizers to kind of solidify their plans. But first, let's take a quick look at the local weather.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. Kimberly Perot had the opportunity to catch up with the PBS Short Film Festival and find out a little bit about their upcoming lineup. Let's take a look.
Now, welcome back to our show. We love the arts and we love seeing all of the inclusion and diversity. And talking about love, PBS does a wonderful job of that with their short film festival that happens every year. We've got the PBS Director of Engagement, Taryn, joining us today to talk all about this year's theme. Taryn, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, Kimberly. How are you?
I am doing so well. I love that you speak with us every year in regard to this festival. So tell us a bit about this year's theme and how many films we can see in the festival.
Yeah, so this year's theme is Stories in Bloom. We're so excited to present this year's theme. It's all about planting seeds of inspiration for future filmmakers and champion the growing and changing narratives that blossom for participants each year. It's also a nod to the fact that we are in year 12 of the PBS Short Film Festival. So Stories in Bloom, it's a nod to our growth, as well. So we're super excited. We have 24 films in this year's film festival. They span across 6 different categories. We have identity, environment, society, culture, family, and inspiration. So those are our categories this year, and we're super excited to present films that run the gambit, right? There's some that are super light and fun and, really silly, and then there are ones that are really heavy and tackle some really difficult and tough issues. But they are all incredibly well done, and there's something for everyone.
I think with those 24 films and all of the categories that you just listed, it basically covers absolutely everything that anybody would want to view. So talk to me about the films. How are they selected? What goes into the selection process? Who decides on which films get to be part of the festival?
Yes, so typically our filmmakers, they reach out to their local PBS station, are one of the presenting partners that we work with in public media, and that's their first entry in. They submit their films that way. Then we receive the films in PBS headquarters from local PBS stations and our presenting partners. And then we get anywhere every year, like between 100 to 120 films. And then we use about a month. There's about 8 or 9 of my amazing colleagues here at PBS that help me screen these films every year. They love filmmaking. They're dedicated to, the public media aspect of this. And so they come alongside me to screen these films, and then we use rating and score sheets, and we have a meeting. I tell people sometimes that meeting, some years it lasts 30 minutes, other years it can go for 3 hours, because we are dedicated to making sure that we highlight the best of the best. So from those meetings, we get all the way down to our 20 to 25 films that are presented each year. And then we are very organic about the categories, because we don't do the categories first and try to make sure the films fit in. We do it the other way. We get the films that we want to highlight the best of the best, and then we put them in the categories where it makes sense. So we're super excited to continue on that path of, authenticity.
I love that organic selection process, and to know that the films that are coming in, you get an unbiased lens through watching all of them and then deciding where they go versus saying we have to have XYZ for this category and whatnot. Now, this is a digital film festival, so it's online and viewers can view all of the films selected, but it's also a competition. So tell me a bit about the competition and what that entails.
Yes, so so the film festival runs, from July 10th through July 21st. That's the run of the film festival this year. But I say it that way because you can watch a lot of the films well past the end of the official run of the film festival. A lot of times they'll be streaming on our platforms for at least a year, sometimes even maybe 2 years. But on July 24th of this year, we will announce our juried prize winner. So our jury is comprised of people who are well respected in the independent filmmaking space as well as public media. There are 6 jurors. If you go to pbs.org/film festival, you can learn more about our jurors. They are all on the site with their bios. Some of them may be familiar to you, especially if you're really heavy into independent films. So that is the competition aspect of the film festival. They watch all of the films, they deliberate, and they come up with their jury prize winner. And we're going to be excited to announce the winner of this year's jury prize on July 24th.
So for all of the viewers out there, they can hop on and watch all of the films without knowing who is the winner beforehand. So that's just a really exciting element to the festival. Now, in regard to the juried members, like how do you select them? Are they recurring every year? Do new people get to come in and be part of that as well?
That's a great question. So I try my best to have the same jury from year after year. Not that I don't want more people to join, because that is always a wonderful option. I love to have more people join the jury, but if I can get some of the same jury members from year to year, I think that that process, it makes things a lot smoother. Their lens into the film festival and how it runs is just, I don't know, it's something that's unmatched. And so they are, the selection process, I wanted to be very intentional about the jury. I wanted to make sure that the jury was diverse. I wanted to make sure that the jury reflected, different parts of our country, different parts of the world, different cultures. That was very important to me because it's, this film festival is for everyone. And I always tell everyone, if you don't see yourself or someone you love in at least one of the films in the festival, then I didn't do my job. And that's also the same with the jury, because if public media is to provide that mirror back, to what the world and what society and what the country is about, then the film festival has to do the same thing. So we pride ourselves on making sure that that is the way that the jury is handled, as well as our screeners. Every part of this is about inclusivity, accessibility, and about powerful storytelling.
I think that's the most important piece, is that it's independent filmmakers, so anybody can make a film, try their hand at it, and give a submission for this festival. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to aspire to do, especially if you're passionate about the media and about the arts and about just really spreading storytelling and messaging. So, Taryn, we really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about this year's film festival. One more time, where can we go for more information and to screen all of the films selected?
Yes, well, you can screen all the films at pbs.org/film festival. There's also a blog, a Q&A blog there, a viewing party kit if you want to watch and host a party with your family and friends. But they're also available on the PBS app, on the PBS Short Film Festival Facebook page, the PBS YouTube channel as well. So lots of places to screen these films.
I love it. A PBS app. Get on there and check out the films. Taryn, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on the show today. Well, take care and best of luck picking that winner.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now stay tuned. We will be right back after this break. Lots happening here on today's show.
Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. Kim Smith and her Adventures in Coaching segment provides us with some fantastic advice for dealing with change in our careers. Let's hear what she has to say.
Welcome back to the show. Now, a segment that we do here, it's called Adventures in Coaching. And Kim Smith is here to join us and talk about all of these wonderful next steps that we could come across in our life. And today we're talking about the importance of change and what that can look like throughout not only your personal life, but through your career as well. Good morning, Kim.
Morning, Maddie. Thanks again for having me. It's great to be here.
We love having you here only because I feel like you give such great information for not only personal growth, but for professional growth as well. And so you've taken us through some very important steps already, from finding your purpose to making sure what you're doing for yourself and for your career has a meaning to you.
Yeah, exactly. We've gone through what it looks like to have a purpose and to define that, as well as trying to start aligning it with what you're doing in your life. And today's topic on change is going to be more focused on our careers.
And sometimes change can be scary. So let's talk about what those initial steps of change look like.
Yeah, sure. First of all, we have to identify if we want to make a change. And sometimes things like being really unhappy in your job, or maybe things just aren't feeling right, or maybe you've been in your job for a long time and you're saying like, maybe there's something else out there for me. Those can signify reasons for change, as well as, if you've been working on your purpose, that can really give you maybe a new direction to say like, hey, I really need to better align with my purpose now.
And why do so many people have a hard time making that change when they know it's going to better their lives and better their career path?
Yeah, it's a very normal thing to really kind of get stuck when we're wanting to make change, because let's face it, we all kind of get stuck in a rut and we get comfortable with what we're doing, and it's hard to maybe put ourselves out there and take a little bit more of a risk to better align with what we want to do or to achieve some new goal.
And there's a lot of things that you have to put into consideration, and especially if you're going to make such a large change, because humans, we're creatures of habit. We like to stick in that pattern that we start. And so when you stay with a job for a long time, you start that pattern, whether it's waking up early or it's staying up late. And then to completely switch that can be really scary for some people. So can you give us an example of this?
So I like to think of, and I'm talking a little bit more about bigger change right now, but the metaphor of maybe climbing a mountain, and I know a lot of people here in the Vail Valley can relate to this. You're at the base of a 14er and you're looking at the top, and it's like, it's this huge peak, and you're like, how can I make it up there? Am I strong enough? Maybe I don't have the fortitude that I need or the training that I need to get up there. And, it's really about, rather than focusing just at that top part of the mountain, breaking it into those baby steps. I mean, what do you do when you start to prepare for climbing a mountain? You make sure you have the right equipment, right? You have a map and a compass or a GPS, whatever it is you're using, and, food to fuel your journey. And without that, you can't even really begin to start thinking about it. So it's the same when you're trying to make change on a big goal, or, change your career or something that, you may have that goal. It's very important to have that end goal, but you also really need to break down the steps to get there so that you can start making those. And one of the things that might really hold you back is maybe fear of change and fear of success or even failure. There's a lot of fears that can come out as a result of that. So all things to think about.
Definitely all things to think about, and especially with the other segments that we've done with you where we've talked about really finding your purpose, because one of my favorite things to chat with you about is how you knew you loved helping people, and then you brought that to your career, and now you have a career that's not only self-fulfilling because you're pouring into your own cup as you're getting to help other people, but then you do get to do what you love and you're very successful at it.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that. And, it wasn't an easy change for me at all. I had a long career in sales and marketing, and I was very comfortable in that. And I had, done, a lot of great things in my career. So it was really hard to say, hey, maybe there's something else out there for me. But I just couldn't ignore that, those small voices that kept saying there's something else, there's something else. And so when I finally did take that leap of faith, so to speak, I didn't just do it and start right away with what I'm doing today. I worked with a coach. I went through the steps. I identified 3 or 4 things that I thought I might really want to do, and started eliminating those based on my values and other things that were important to me, where I finally landed on, being a full-time coach. And I just love it. It makes a lot of sense to me now. And should I have done it earlier? Perhaps, but all of those experiences I had leading up to this point got me to where I am today, and they all inform and help me with what I'm doing, not only with my career, but when I'm helping others.
Now, as people are gearing up to make this change and they're starting to talk about the possibilities, what are the questions that they should be asking themselves when they do want to make a change?
Sure, and it's, there is a lot that goes into it, and a lot of times you're not clear exactly on what it is you want to do or how to do it. So I always go back to does the change you're thinking about really align with your purpose? And if you haven't done that purpose work, go back and take a look at some of that. But does it align? And then second, what are the risks? Every change has some risks there. And, what does that involve for you? Even making a simple pros and cons list can help you get really clear on, should I do it or should I not? And then I always like to say, what are the benefits of making this change? What are you going to gain from it? And because generally you're making change because you want to, right? You see the benefits, but getting clear on what those are is important. But also, what are the costs of maybe not making the change? Like if you're hesitant, if I'm going to make the change or if I'm not going to make the change, what is it going to cost me emotionally, basically, maybe monetarily? But also, and then I finally say, run the numbers. Take a look at the finances. What is it going to cost you to make a change? And maybe it's a promotion where you're making more money. So that's kind of a no-brainer. But sometimes when we're thinking about making really different, changes where we want to go a different direction, it might mean looking at the numbers and looking at a different type of salary for a while. And, what is that going to look like for you?
Which I think these are all great things to sit down with yourself and really work through. The pros and cons list is one of my favorite things to do, and especially just for any life event that could make that significant change. Now, as people are starting to think about making this change, what are some of the steps that they should be taking to start the process? Yeah,
so once you figure out that this is something that you really want to do, I say, take a look at that end goal and start building the steps to getting there. So you're saying, all right, the first step is this and the second step is that. And then build out the plans underneath each step. Because, it's a long, long way from getting, that idea from here into, to the chair over there, right? There's a gap there. Right. And a lot of people think like, oh, I can just do that. But there are steps. And making sense of those steps and being clear on them, and even taking some of those baby steps just to see what you can start, like if you can start some momentum and generating some movement there.
Now, you're a fantastic coach and you do this for a living. So why is it so important when people are making these changes that they come and seek advice from a coach like you?
Yeah, I mean, certainly anybody can, do this on their own. But what I have found, and with people I work with, is that they get stuck, right? And they're having a hard time moving forward. And maybe it's, for a number of reasons, but a lot of it is like maybe we don't know exactly how to get there and they need some help and support to develop that plan. But also the other piece of it is we often get stuck because of our limiting beliefs and not believing that we can actually do what we're setting out to do. And so that's where a coach can really help you to identify not only the plan and build that out and hold you accountable to those steps, but find out what those limiting beliefs are.
And as we're talking about this plan and building out these steps, what does the process of coming and working with you in this kind of moment in your life look like?
We really start out with asking about do you know what your purpose is and what is the plan that you're thinking of? And then I go through an evaluation to take a look at, the pros and cons and what it might be that you're thinking about, and having you look at the finances. I can't tell you how many times I work with people and I said, and I say, well, what do you think you can earn doing this? Or what do you think it's going to look like if you decide to do that? And they're just really more going on their gut feeling, which is great, and I love that. But let's take a look and say, what is it going to cost? What does this change mean for you financially?
Now, Kim, if people are interested in working with you to have you help them make these changes, what's the best way for them to get in contact?
So either go to my website, adventuresincoaching.com, or email me directly at kim@adventuresincoaching.com.
Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us all this great information, and you never know how much this little piece could help someone make that life change that they need.
Yeah, thank you.
Make sure that you check out Adventures in Coaching if you are looking to make one of these big changes and you're struggling to get from here to the chair, because that little push can definitely help you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Wasatch Weekends. If you missed any of our episodes, you can always find us at parkcity.tv. I'm your host, Ben Roof, and I will see you next Friday.